Hey, welcome to another video. This is my November wrap-up. Yep, it is crazy that we only have 1 month left of the year. It was my goal to read a whole bunch of books this month. Jesus, can you chill? Holy moly. Why was that so loud? My ringer's not even up on. Oh my god. Okay, anyway, as I was saying, I wanted to read as many books as I could this month. I wanted this to be my biggest reading month of the year. I had planned to read at least 15 books. I did not do that. I only read 10, but that's still a lot, and that's pretty much my average now, I think, is 10 books a month. Yeah, I don't know how I was thinking I was gonna read 15. I barely read 10. But we're just gonna get right into it, talk about all the books that I read this month. There were 3 that I did a reading vlog on, so I won't go too much into them since I have my thoughts in a different video and I don't want to talk on them too long. But I have 7 other books that you have no idea that I read. First up, we have Renegades by Marissa Meyer. This is a YA sci-fi series. It's a trilogy, consists of Renegades, Arch Enemies, and Supernova is the last book. But Marissa Meyer, I read the Lunar Chronicles by her and I love that series so much, so of course I had to pick this one up. I also was getting heavily influenced in wanting to read this because Rachel Catherine was reading it and she was praising it a lot, so I did pick this up at the beginning of the month. I love this. There are many people who are born and they kind of end up with a superpower in some way. Some people don't have superpowers, they're just regular humans, and then some people are called prodigies and they develop their power of their own unique power. We have a main character, Nova. She is called Nightmare, that is her alias, and she doesn't sleep, which is literally insane. I don't know what I would do with myself if I did not sleep, because that's the only time I feel comfort. Yeah, she doesn't sleep and she can put people to sleep just by touching them. It can be very useful in a fight. But she is part of the anarchists, which are kind of viewed as the villains to society. So we have the anarchists and the renegades. The renegades are known as the good superheroes, and these two teams are kind of fighting against each other. They've always been against each other. Nova, when she was younger, the way that she got her power, she had her little sister. I think her little sister was only a few months old. She was very, very young, just a baby. And then she had her mom and her dad, and this dude ended up coming to their apartment and shooting her dad, shooting her mom, and then shooting her baby sister. So it's very rough, and that is how she got her power, by not sleeping, because every time she tried to go to sleep after that, she just heard the gunshots and she could not bear to sleep. She couldn't get her mind off of it. The whole night she was just hoping for the renegades to come and save her and her family, and they never did. Her uncle eventually showed up and got rid of the guy who was killing her parents and her family. Her uncle is actually part of the anarchists, so she grew up just becoming part of the anarchists. For this book, she's working with her team in the anarchists, but they are trying to find out what the renegades are trying to do and get into their loop. So she actually pretends to be a renegade. She tries out to be a renegade and she gets in. So she's kind of doing all this background stuff with the anarchists. Then she's kind of trying to not like the renegades, but they're very good people. Obviously, they're the good people. So it's very interesting to read a book from kind of the villain standpoint in a way, and get all of her almost betraying the people that she is on a team with, but also betraying her new team. It's just very fun, and I love this book. I loved all the different powers that everybody has, how unique they are, and to see how everybody can use them in combat. And it's very interesting. I did give this book a 4.5 stars. I don't know, it was good. I liked it, and I recommend reading this if you are interested. If you don't think you'd be into sci-fi, just try it out, you know? Just try it out, see if you like it. And it's a good series. And Marissa Meyer is very good at writing. I love the story, concept, everything. Chef's kiss. Next, I read Before We Were Strangers by Renee Carlino. This book follows Matt and Grace. They knew each other in college, and now it is 15 years later. Matt is going somewhere, and it's set in New York, so he's going somewhere on the subway, and then he actually sees Grace for the first time in 15 years, and he has very strong feelings for her. It was kind of like the one that got away feeling, and then he is trying to find her again. Of course, she like instantly disappears when he is deciding if he wants to go up to her and say anything to her. So they shared a very strong connection in college. This is just their story. It goes back and forth in time, present, and then there's a whole section where it is their college time and how they developed their friendship and their relationship in college and what they went through and how they connected with each other. And then essentially they're trying to decide now if they should be together, if they are meant to be together. I did give this book a 1 star. I don't know, this wasn't a romance for me. When I read a romance, I want it to be known that they are meant for each other, and I want it to be pretty obvious that these two people are good for each other and that they belong together. But this one, I don't think they were. Even when it went back to their college flashbacks, I just didn't really feel like they were good. And you could say it was kind of like right person, wrong time. They were just doubting their attraction to each other and their connection so much that it got frustrating to a point. And it was like, at that point, like, you're convincing yourself how much you like the other person, but you're not doing anything about it and you're just pushing it off, and I hate that so much. So I wasn't a fan of this book because it was a lot of that. There was a whole bunch of miscommunication in the ending, and it was caused by a side character, which was also insane because it ruined everything pretty much. I wasn't a fan. So I think this was a book that I thought I was going to love because I was hearing great things about it, and the concept of the story really intrigued me. I thought it was going to be perfect for me, but the romance didn't hit for me, and the connection between the characters just wasn't there for me. Very unfortunate, but what are you gonna do about it? Next, I read Leave the World Behind by Rumaan Alam. I'm sorry, I always say I wish there were author pronunciations in the book because I hate saying people's name wrong, but how am I gonna know how to say it if I can't hear it? I don't know. So anyway, this is Leave the World Behind. This is sort of a mystery thriller. I believe this was written during quarantine, and I can tell why because this book was chaotic. I will say it's very short. I don't even think it's 200 pages. It's a little over 200 pages. But this is about this family who is going on a vacation, and they go to this rental house, whatnot. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. This older couple ends up knocking on their door the one day, and they're like, okay, who is this? Like, why is somebody at this house? This is weird. So the couple ends up saying that they own the house and they're the ones who rented it to them, and there's something crazy going on in the world, so they just need a place to stay because they can't drive to their home. So they end up staying with this family. Everything is fine. The beginning, I thought the writing was really great. I could picture everything that was happening. I literally felt like I was there on vacation with this family, and it was really just, I don't know, the whole atmosphere of it was well written, and I really enjoyed that. But I thought I just thought the couple that was going to show up was going to be a crazy chaotic couple, and they were going to cause harm to this family, or like that's where the mystery was going to come in, and there was going to be crazy things between this couple and the family. And it wasn't. There was just this thing going on in the world. They were losing power. There was a storm going on. They were losing internet, phone service, basically anything that connects you to the world. They were losing all of that, and they were just flipping out, like literally terrified. And it was just, I don't know, it was just so weird to me. Like, once you got to that part of the book where the couple comes in and you're realizing that something is going on in the world and they have no idea what's going on, it was just page after page of them losing their mind and thinking the world is ending. And it was so like stressful to read because it just didn't seem like that big of a deal, because they were saying like a hurricane was happening, but then they made it sound like the world was ending. I don't know, I was just very confused a lot in this book. It went in a complete different direction than I thought it was going to be, which is not a problem because it's just, you know, it's how the story went. But I just didn't like the execution of that. I thought it was quite strange how the characters were reacting, and I did not enjoy that. So I did also give this a 1 star. I hate giving 1 stars to books, but I mean, I am a harsh rater, so I have to. But I just, yeah, this book wasn't it for me. Okay, so next we're going into the 3 books that I read for my reading vlog. These were new releases that came out on November 7th. So I have Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood. This is her YA debut romance novel about 2 people who play chess. We have a main character, Mallory, and she was obsessed with chess when she was younger. She played all the time. Her dad was a huge chess player. So there was something that you were trying to figure out with what happened with him as to why Mallory just doesn't talk to him anymore, why he's not a part of their family. He's the reason that she doesn't play chess anymore, so you're trying to figure out that for most of the book too. And then our #1 chess player in the world is Nolan. Him and Mallory are pretty close in age. They're only a couple years apart, but one day Mallory's friend there was this little chess tournament going on, and her friend was kind of begging her to just play chess one last time for this tournament because they needed a team. So Mallory gets in and she says that she will do it. She's basically like, this is the last time I'm playing chess, I'm not gonna do it anymore. But she ends up going against Nolan and beating him. She's kind of in the news now a little bit in the chess world because she just beat the #1 chess player. So everybody's wondering who she is and her history with chess. This book just follows her getting back into the chess world and her relationship with Nolan and their rivalry to friendship. I really enjoyed this book. I did give this a 4 star. I think Ali Hazelwood's writing is very well fit for young adult, but I said in my reading vlog, I think this is considered more new adult because I consider young adult people who are still in high school and under 18. She was like 18, 19, 20 to 21. I think it ended when she was about 21 years old. Other than that, I just think that she has great writing for this type of novel, and I really enjoyed it. I always love her writing. She's one of my favorite authors, so of course I I'm probably going to love every book that she reads. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I love her side characters and I love her main characters. I love the personalities that she gives them, and the story is always so unique and there's not really anything like it. Next, I have good old Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. I don't want to talk too much on this either because it is the second book in a series and I don't want to spoil too much. We are just following Violet and their journey and what is happening in this world with all the new creatures that we were introduced to in Fourth Wing. And there's a lot of chaos going down towards the end. The only thing that I had a complaint about in this book was the beginning and the response to the plot twist that we had in the end of Fourth Wing. I just think it lacked a lot and it wasn't there at all, and it was really disappointing to me. Other than that, I mean, that was really the only thing I didn't like about this book. I do like where the story is going. I also said that I didn't have expectations going into this novel on what I wanted to happen, so I was very open to what was happening in the world and with the story and everything that was about to go down, and I enjoyed it. I thought it went in a very good direction. The ending of this was crazy too, so I can't wait for the third book, and I'm nervous because I don't know what's gonna happen, and it sucks. I did give this a 4 stars and I cannot wait for the rest of the series. Alright, then lastly for the new releases, I read Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. This is her new series. This is another billionaire romance. This one follows an interior designer and kind of like a contractor type billionaire dude. He kind of hires people to work on things. Honestly, I don't really know. I don't really know. This follows Julian and Dahlia, and they have a history with each other. They kind of grew up together and then they went to college together, and they had a little thing in college, so that's their history. So when they were in college together, Julian was friends with this dude named Oliver. Oliver was Julian's roommate in college. Dahlia was really close to Julian, but then his dad had passed away, so he was very shut off from her and just didn't really open himself up anymore, and he just wasn't really into having people in his life really because he was just so affected by his dad's passing. He pushed Dahlia away, and then Dahlia got closer to Oliver. She's having an issue with him. He is basically saying that they can't get married anymore because she's just not fit for his family, because he's some like crazy rich entitled dude who needs this perfect girl for his family and all that stuff. You know how that goes. He is kind of kicking her to the curb, so she goes back to her hometown in Lake Wisteria, and Julian is still there, so they kind of rekindle and work on this house together that she's always wanted to renovate, and it's their story after that. But I did not like Julian. I gave this book a 2.5 stars. I like the whole family aspect of this. She was back with her family, and then Julian's family was a big part of this, and I love their relationship with each other, but the romance didn't do it for me in this book either. I think that Julian was... I know that I'm not a big fan of billionaires. I like the Dreamland Billionaire series. This one just did not hit for me at all. I think Julian was too in his head about money, and he just thought that you could use money for anything and to get what you want, and I don't like that. I'm not a fan of that. Didn't really root for him. I really like Dahlia. There was a lot of representation with depression and anxiety with her. I really enjoyed that in books. I thought she was a great character, but I just didn't like their romance with each other. It wasn't hitting it for me, and I just didn't feel a connection with them either, so it sucks. I will continue this series, but I wasn't rooting for them. Okay, next, guys, I read One Dark Window by Rachel Gillick, and I also read 2 Twisted Crowns after that. This is a duology. It is completed, and I am so glad that it is completed because I love duologies. I think they're very simple. I don't really like when series go on too much. I find myself straying away from liking the story or caring where the story goes. So when it's a duology, it's kind of perfect, but I will say that I love this so much that if it was a longer series, I would so read it. I feel like I said that really annoying. I don't know why I said it like that, but if this was a longer series, I would definitely pick up the other books. Basically, One Dark Window has a very unique magic system. It is a fantasy book, so we're following this world called Blunder, and there's this crazy mist that is happening. It's like an infection going on, so if you go into the mist, it drives you kind of crazy, and then you end up dying pretty much. And some people get infected, so your veins, like the blood in your veins, turn black, and it's just pretty creepy. When you get infected though, you get this kind of magic. While that seems like a good thing, the magic also degenerates you in a unique type of way. So each person who's infected and has that type of magic is slowly degenerating and just getting destroyed from the inside. So we have a girl, Elspeth, here, and she is one of the infected ones. She has this magic, and she is trying to get rid of this mist and save the world pretty much, and save her her world. So essentially what you have to do to get rid of this mist is there are 12 Providence cards and you have to find all 12 of them. They each have their own type of magic. She is hoping to cure this mist and this disease and everything, this infection. So she is hoping to find a way to find these 12 cards and get rid of this destruction. She ends up going to, the king is throwing on this whole like kind of feast party different thing as the solstice is coming up. He is trying to find these 12 cards to get rid of the mist too, but of course he is the king and he does not have good intentions pretty much. So he is not the person we want to have the cards in his hand. So we have the captain of the Destriers is what they're called. So they actually try to go out and find people who are infected and get rid of them. But our Captain Rowan is kind of against that. So he is a Destrier and he's working for his uncle, who is the king, but he has different intentions. He ends up meeting Elspeth the one day and they kind of make this deal to find the cards together and then go on this journey and cure everything. And they have their own little team, and then obviously the king is like trying to find the cards too. In the end, there's only one of the last card that they need to find, so they're kind of, you know, on a race to find this card. But I thought this was very unique. I gave it a 4.75 stars, but honestly it's a 5-star read to me. I think the characters could have had a little more personality, or we could have had a better connection to the characters. Well, for me at least, maybe other people did, but I personally wanted more of a connection with the characters. But other than that, it was honestly such a great read and I loved it. There was little like rhymes in there with the cards and everything that I really enjoyed, and the whole atmosphere of this book and this world is fantastic and I really enjoyed this. So I highly recommend this book if you have not picked this up yet, or if you've been thinking of picking it up. I think now's kind of a good time to read this with the cold weather if you experience cold weather. But yeah, this was a great read and I highly recommend this. And then of course the second one I read was Two Twisted Crowns. I did give this a 4.25. It is very hard for me to like the second book in a series, or the rest of the books in the series, better than the first one. That's just how it happens for me. That's just always how it ends up being. But this one, they are just continuing their journey. I don't want to talk too much about this one since of course this is a sequel and you should read the first one first. But yeah, this is just them trucking along and doing their thing. I really enjoyed this one too. I just think it was a little slow at the beginning. It was hard for me to get into, but once I got into it, it's very good and I thought this was a great ending. I really like how everything ended up. We got another point of view in here and it was great. Now we have Reckless by Elsie Silver. This is the 4th book in the Chestnut Springs series, so I'm almost done. I only have one left, but this follows Theo in winter. I kind of knew that I was gonna love this book because people either love Powerless or Reckless the most in this series, and I loved Powerless, so I was like, people love Powerless and Reckless, I'm of course probably gonna like Reckless, and I really did. This is, like I said, following Theo in winter. They have this one night stand and we get the first scene in the end of Powerless, which was really cool because I read that book I think last month, but then going back and reading the same scene over in this book was just very refreshing and I enjoyed going back to that. Basically it is the middle of winter and Winter is going to Chestnut Springs. She's going to the ranch to see her sister Summer. I hate that their names are Summer and Winter. I don't know why. So she's going to see Summer, and because she's having issues with her current husband, she's trying to get a divorce, so she just wants to get out of there. She's finding this new job in Chestnut Springs and she's trying to start her new life. So she goes and she's driving and it's snowy and obviously she's trying to be safe and careful on the snowy road. And then we got Theo and his big old truck behind her. You know how that works, guys in big trucks on the road, they're awful. He's getting mad because she's driving too slow. So they end up going to the ranch together because they're both having family dinner at the Eaton's house. And she's like, great, this guy's following me here, like who is this? So they get out of the car and they instantly start yelling at each other and having a fight. And Theo just loves that she's mad and he's like, I really like this girl. So then she's going back to her hotel motel thing and he's actually staying in the same one. So they drive back together because he wants her to be safe and not have to freak out as she's driving back with snow on the road. So that was cute. But from the beginning, Theo's just he's such a good guy. And I really just enjoyed their time together. Okay, here's the thing. When I got to their night that they shared together, when they went back to the hotel, I was kind of mad because it kind of just happened and then that was it. And I was just like, oh man, why didn't we get this? Like, I wanted to know what happened. Come on. It's okay because the end made up for it. I will just say that I was frustrated with the beginning, but then everything was fine. And that's the moment I was like, this is for sure a 5-star. He stuck up for her so much when nobody else was sticking up for her, and she was having such a hard time with herself and believing that anybody should be in her life or anybody was wanting to be in her life and wanting to get to know her. I relate to that very highly. So just reading about that and then having Theo just support her so much and look up for her and stick up for her. I loved it, and I love their relationship. They're one of my faves, so I can say Powerless and Reckless are my faves. I don't know which one I like more, because I loved Jasper and I loved Theo and I love Sloane and I love Winter. So I don't know, maybe they're tied for me. Maybe I'll have to sit on it a little bit, but yeah, I will say it again, I highly recommend the Chestnut Spring series. I think it's just perfect. I love it so much. It's my favorite romance series. Sad that I'm gonna finish it, but she has a new series coming out soon, so I'm fine with that. Okay, and then the last book I read, I actually just finished this morning. It is Arch Enemies by Marissa Meyer. This is the sequel to Renegades. So started off the month with Renegades, finishing it off with Arch Enemies. I'm excited to pick up the third book because crazy things are gonna happen, because at the end of this book there was so much going on, and I'm like, there's gonna be so many issues, and I'm so excited to see what those issues are. This just follows the story where Renegades ended. The one thing I will say about this, since I can't say much, is that I love the way that she wrote a sequel, because you know, most sequels, there's just so much repetition with what happened, and it is nice to get those tidbits again, to remember what happened and like who is connected in what way. But sometimes I feel like a lot of series are written to where you get too much of that, and then it gets just a little annoying because you're like, I already know this, like I read the first book. It's almost essentially written like the second book is being read as a standalone, which it's not. So this one was laid out really well in that sense, because she didn't really do that. I appreciated that a lot because I didn't get frustrated. Obviously there were jumps back to the first book which reminded me of a lot that happened in the first book, but it was just like one sentence and that's all I needed. So that was perfect. I did give this 4 stars just because it was almost 500 pages, but I feel like there was a lot that happened, but a lot of it was a little drawn out and we were focused on one thing mainly, or just a couple things. But in the first book we were getting so many different things because it was the intro to the world and the story. So yeah, this was a little slower for me, but then in the same sense it wasn't, because I was very into this book and I didn't want to put it down. But I think just with plot wise there wasn't a ton that was happening until the end. But I will say the end was great, and I'm nervous to see where this goes, because I don't want there to be any feuds between certain people, but I know it's gonna happen, and I'm very curious to see how it plays out and how they react to it. So I'm excited to pick up Supernova and finish this series. I recommend this, so pick it up if you have not yet. There they go. Every time I have books stacked up, they don't last long. Okay, but that is it for my November wrap up. Those are the books that I read this month. And oh, also this book was my 100th book of the year, which is literally insane. I never would have imagined myself to be able to read 100 books in a year. Last year I think I set my goal at 50 and I didn't even hit that. And this year I set my goal at 70 and I hit that in like August, I want to say. I'm just proud of myself for reading books, because it's my favorite hobby. I make it a priority to read because that's what I love to do. It's what I love to do most. I'm excited to just continue reading, and I'm so happy that I have loved it. I don't even know if I've been in a slump this year, which is insane, because years past I would get in a slump so much and it would take me so long to read a book. I'd read like 1 to 2 a month, and I hated it because I love reading and I wanted to read and I wanted to like the books that I was reading, but something just wasn't there. And this year it came back, and I'm very happy that it did. But with that being said, that wraps up this video and my November wrap up. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for staying and listening. Let me know what your favorite book that you read this month was, and let me know what book you are looking forward to reading in December. I am finally gonna start A Court of Thorns and Roses. Look forward to that. I will have a reading vlog. That is it for this video. I will see you in my next one. I always mess that up. I will see you in my next one, whatever that may be. I hope you have a good day, of course, good night, whatever, whenever you're watching this. And yeah, see ya.